Hey y'all, it's Alex from PSYCHONAUT Visions signing in here, and today I am going to be titling my video Moving Forward. And the reason for that is because I'm moving forward with the relationships that I have right now. These are relationships that I briefly mentioned in my video that I last uploaded called Never Satisfied. And in that video, I was talking a lot about complacency and complacency within relationships as well. And I briefly mentioned my father. And under that video, somebody commented talking about how talking about detailed life events that you're struggling with is something that adds layers to facilitate deeper conversations. And that comment is something that I resonated with. So now I'm here talking about the details of my relationship with my father. That's gonna be the primary basis of this video, talking about my father and how that factors into my life right now, and how I'm feeling the void of not really having a relationship with my father. I'm feeling that void with other men in my life. I have my cousin Joey. I have my brother, who's not quite a man, and I wouldn't even say I'm 100% a man yet. I mean, I'm just getting there. I'm becoming a man. So my brother's 3 years younger than me, and we've grown really close. And I've grown really close with Will, of course, and our other friend that we hang out with a lot. And we're all having these bonds together. It's like having this masculine presence that is good for me, like good for us. I feel like there's just something about the masculine presence that's I don't know. I don't know how to describe exactly what the purpose is and how this is supposed to function within life, but having this masculine presence is something positive. And now I have to talk about my father and what causes me to crave more masculine presence in my life. I grew up watching my father treat my mother horribly. I thought it was normal watching the way he treated her, the way he would put her down, call her names, make fun of her about her work, make fun of her over every little thing she did. I remember those things. I remember him putting me down, him blaming things on me. It was always my fault. He could never say sorry. Nothing was ever his fault. I had to be a certain way around him so he wouldn't snap on me. He intimidated me. He intimidated my mother and my brother. He made us all feel small. He made us feel scared. He was verbally aggressive and abusive, emotionally abusive. And it's really hard to accept all these things about my childhood and my own father, because it took me a while to fully come to this conclusion. And now that I don't live with him, it's different now. Like, I'm an adult. I don't need him in my life. I can choose to cut him off. But there's a lot more that leads up to the point of me possibly cutting him off. There's a lot more to this story. I just had to think it through and articulate it in a way that makes sense, in a way that feels like a good explanation to me. So you just have to be patient with what I'm saying, because I might have to take a few pauses or kind of dive deeper into the emotions of what I'm experiencing. I'm not sure where exactly to start. he would just make me feel all these emotions throughout childhood. And I still looked up to him. I still thought, like, this is my father. Like, this is the man, like, that I role model. And that's just not how I see him now. I see him as a narcissist. I see him as somebody who's pathetic, who's a weak man, so closed-minded. I am really confident that my dad suffers from narcissism or narcissistic personality disorder. It's hard for me to put this out on a video, and I pray that none of my family members see this besides my brother. But this is how I feel. Sorry about the plane. It's gonna go over right now. And, oh, that's farther away. Okay, we're good. Anyways. My dad would never own up to anything. He would never show emotions or be vulnerable. The only time he was ever vulnerable with me was when his dad died and when my mom was divorcing him. And that divorce should have honestly happened a long time ago, but it didn't. So it makes me who I am now. If anything, this shit was supposed to happen. All these life events. It was all predetermined. So I'm accepting things the way they are, and I'm trying to move forward with that. And in turn, I recently had a conversation with my father about these childhood experiences that I've had. Because my brother and I have grown close because of these collective experiences that we've shared together, this trauma that we feel as adults and how we feel about my dad. And it's not completely because of what we've been talking about with my dad, but it's definitely a big part of it, and it helps us grow closer because of what we've been through and just helping each other through it and helping each other become good men that aren't stubborn or men that aren't entitled or self-absorbed, because that's what my dad was. We want to be men that are vulnerable with our emotions and men that are able to display some side of femininity and balance that with their masculinity. And we want to own up to things and admit when we're wrong, apologize when it's warranted. My dad did none of those things. He did none of those things. It's hard to talk about this because it makes me anxious. Like, it makes me feel like anxious in my chest. And it's hard for me to breathe when I'm talking about these things. That's how anxious it makes me. It's because I was always scared of his reactions. I was always scared what he was gonna do, or if he was gonna turn things around and make it seem like it was my fault for the things that I was feeling. If he would get mad or something, like, I don't know. So we went through with having this conversation with him, telling him about all these feelings that we've experienced through childhood. We educated ourselves about narcissism and narcissistic tactics of deflecting blame, deflecting any type of responsibility or accountability. And my brother and I controlled the conversation. We redirected the conversation every time he would try to deflect. And at the end, he finally gave a genuine, I'm sorry. But I'm not 100% sure if that sorry is even a genuine sorry because of who he is. The way he is has been ingrained into him. It's a part of his personality. I can't have him a part of my life if that's how he's always going to be. I don't see a point in trying to go any farther, which is why I titled this video Moving On, because I feel like I need to move on. And I feel like I've made up my mind, but I still need to give it time to think about. Because we got to the end of the conversation and we agreed that we were gonna go to therapy. But now I'm not so sure about that commitment because I'm moving soon. I'm developing my other relationships. So I told him, like, this is what I need to do. Like, I can't commit to therapy right now. This is what my life is like, and I can't commit to you. Like, I can't have you a part of my life the next month. That's basically what I implied in my text message to him. Because the truth is, I just don't know if therapy will do anything. And I don't have the desire to put in all that effort, time, and energy. Yes, it could give me some closure. But do I really need that closure? Is it really necessary for me? All these questions, all these things that my dad would do, the emotional invalidation, the intimidation, the outbursts of anger he would have. He was never patient. He'd find things to pick on. Like we were overcorrected. Any mistake we made was bad. Anything. I remember one time he got so mad because I couldn't figure out the equivalent of like 9 o'clock p.m. in like 24-hour time, or military time as people know it. I couldn't figure it out. I'm just a kid. We were at the gym. We were gonna go inside the gym. And he got so mad that he took us back home because I couldn't figure this out. Like, he expected me to know all these things. He expected me to acknowledge his grandfather's death, which is my great-grandfather. He expected me to acknowledge that year after year on each anniversary. He got mad at me because on like the 13th year anniversary of my great-grandfather's passing, I didn't say anything. Like, what am I supposed to say? He would get mad at me for not asking to go see his grandfather or my great-grandfather. He'd get mad at me. Like, dude, I'm just a kid. Like, why do I have to ask you to go see him? Like, why can't you just ask me if I want to go with you to go see him? And then I'll say, yeah. But that's not the normal reactions that he would have. It's like he wanted people to read his mind. There was just something off about him. And therapy would be useful in the sense of just having closure with letting him know everything that I feel. And whether or not he accepts it, which he probably never would because of the way he is. At least I would have tried. But I'm just questioning to myself if that's really worth it. I mean, I love my dad, but I don't think that I need him to be a part of my life because I have strong male relationships in my life. That's just how I feel. Like, why do I need to keep this man in my life who is just, I can't think of the word that I'm trying to use. He's just, I can't think of the word, but he has this personality where he just keeps people down. Like, he is not uplifting. And with the plane in the background again, I just don't think I need that energy in my life. And maybe I should go through with therapy, but maybe not right now, because I have a lot on my plate. Moving, improving my relationship with my girlfriend, and then many other things going on, like work and school. And my other relationships, of course. Exercising. Like, do I really have time for my dad right now? He doesn't deserve it at this time. I don't even think he truly understands what he did. At the end of our conversation, he gave me a hug and he was crying. He said, "I'm sorry I fucked up." You know, and I accept his apology. I don't forgive him because I don't think he knows what he did. I don't think he understands it at all, or who he is. I don't think he could ever accept that he was actually emotionally abusive. But I might be wrong, you know? I might be wrong for that. But I just need to give it some time. If you made it this far in the video, I would appreciate any feedback or any advice if you can relate to this whatsoever. Because somebody who may not have experienced a narcissistic relationship with somebody else, they may still understand in a way because of a strained family relationship. I think a lot of people have that going on. I'm basically at the crossroads of whether or not I'm gonna fully cut my dad off or not. It's a hard decision to make, and I may not have given every single little minute detail of what's going on with my relationship with him, but that's basically most of it. That's most of what I've been going through with him. How it factors into all facets of my life in terms of relationships. So just let me know what you think, if you have anything to say. If not, it's fine. If nobody watches this video, it's cool. Like, as long as I get my words out there and tell my story, somebody will come across it. And it may be helpful for their life. And that's the journey I'm trying to head towards, to help people heal, along with helping myself heal. So, Alex from PSYCHONAUT Visions, signing out. Hey y'all, it's Alex from PSYCHONAUT Visions signing in again, and this is part 2 of my video moving forward. And I'm gonna be combining part 1 and 2 together in one video because I watched part 1 over and I wasn't satisfied with my explanation and with everything that I said. I think there's a few more things that I could have mentioned, and one of that is that I need to try to understand some perspective of what my dad's childhood was like, and I may never understand that if I cut him off. I don't feel like it's a complete necessity for me to understand, but it would be helpful in maybe explaining why my dad is the way he is, because my grandparents, they raised my dad and 2 other children, and their 2 other children were just as fucked up. other child was my dad's brother, and this is my uncle who I have never had a relationship with, and he turned into somebody who used drugs and somebody that was a manipulative person. And my dad, by nature, is a manipulative person. He gaslights you when you tell him how you're feeling about him. He uses the silent treatment when he's uncomfortable with a conversation topic. He tries to redirect a conversation as if you'd never said anything, because he can't take accountability and he's a narcissist. My dad's sister, she was emotionally and physically abusive towards my cousins. And these are all 3 children of my grandparents. It just provokes the question on what happened in their childhood that made them the way that they are, all 3 of them. What was it? And it may be a question I'll never get answered, and I'm fine with that, but it's a question that I'm asking just to provoke thought. Like, what happened? There's another thing that I wanted to mention, that when I talked to my dad with my brother and he gave me the hug, I cried when I was hugging my father. Like, I didn't give my emotion of what I was feeling in that situation. I cried. Like, it wasn't like I wasn't feeling anything. I was crying. But I was crying while hugging him because it just felt like it was the last time I was probably gonna hug my father like that. It was just more of like the feeling of hugging my father that felt good. Like, oh, like, you know, this is my only idea of what a father is like. So I kind of just made that hug last. It was more of the idea, not because of how I felt towards my dad specifically. I was just more crying because of how bad my relationship is with my father, and hugging him just made it feel a little bit better in a sense. And there's another detail that I want to add. So in this detail, it regards my divorce, not my divorce, my parents' divorce, and how my father feels about that divorce. Like, I want to know his perspective. How did you feel? Do you miss my mom? What do you think happened? Like, what is your perspective? I want to know. And he would deflect the questions I would ask him. And at this time, this was maybe like a month ago, last time I hung out with him casually. At this time, I wasn't as educated about narcissism and narcissistic deflection tactics. So I didn't really press him about it. I just left it at that because I just wanted to move the conversation forward to something positive. Fuck, my bad. I kind of tripped on something. So I was just trying to make things remain positive and not have to address any like negative things or uncomfortable things anyways. And my dad is something that I could never face anything uncomfortable. Any uncomfortable emotions, he just deflected. Anything that had to do with him owning up to something, he deflected. And I genuinely feel like he thinks that he's the victim from the divorce. And he's not. He's not the fucking victim. Sorry, I'm kind of like ranting a little bit. I need to like cool off. I mean, it's okay to feel angry. I shouldn't beat myself up about that because of everything I've experienced. But my mom is the victim. And you know what I didn't mention in the previous video in part 1 is that My mom confirmed all these experiences that I observed along with my brother. So all three of us agree on the abuse that we experienced from this man. If that's not further proof, then I don't know what is. And the thing is, at the end of the day, I still feel guilty about all this. And I didn't even share how I still feel in the last video, in the last part of this video. I feel bad for him, you know, like I genuinely feel empathetic. Like I can picture myself in his head. Like I feel sorry for this man. I really do. Like, how did he turn out like this? But I can't have somebody like that in my life, you know? And I feel like I go on these thought trains sometimes where I think like, oh, what if I'm the manipulative one? Like, what if I'm making this shit all up in my head? I question these things. I still do. And I've mentioned it so many times to so many other people. And now I'm mentioning it on YouTube where it's going to be shared with even more people. And the last thing that I wanted to mention was that the way I saw my dad model his relationship with my mother, the way he would put her down, the way I would see him do that, that's how I treated my mother my entire childhood. To this day, it's still a little bit difficult for me, but now I'm able to control it way better. I don't nearly get as mad as her as I used to in childhood because of the way I saw my dad treat her. That's a horrible thing for a son to watch his father treat his mother like that. That's such a terrible thing because it sets up the son to fail in relationships. So because of that, I've had a hard time in my relationship with my girlfriend. And honestly, my relationship with my girlfriend is not even that challenging. It's not that difficult. But of course, there's still relationship difficulties and things you had to work past. And she knows my entire past and how I feel about everything going on because she's my best friend. That's how it should be. My dad was not best friends with my mom. They weren't even friends. They weren't even a couple. My mom told me she didn't feel loved. She was shown no affection. She told me there was no intimacy. He would be so distant. He would never share emotions. And I don't do any of those things that my dad does in my relationship. The one thing that is hard about my relationship with my girlfriend, at least in relation to how I observed my dad through childhood, is just that I get easily frustrated. I'm an easily frustrated person because he would always be on a short fuse. He's always impatient. So it kind of makes me a perfectionist in a sense. I'm a perfectionist. I overcorrect people sometimes. But I recognize these flaws about myself. And I try my best to react positively or communicate these feelings when I feel them. Not just keep them down and lash out on people, because that's not me. That's not me. That's my dad. I really think that's all I had to mention. I'm so sorry about the cars in the background. I just felt like the scenery is pleasant in this video, so it gives a little bit of a sense of peace. So the car noise really doesn't matter. What matters is the topic that I've been talking about and how I feel about it. And that's it. That's all I need to talk about right now. So Alex from PSYCHONAUT Visions officially signing out.